It is 5 o'clock, and I call to order the meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville. And the City Council seating is the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, the Victorville Water District, and the Victorville Housing Trust. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Kennedy? Here. Councilmember McEachern?
Here.
Councilmember Negretti?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cox?
Here.
Mayor Garcia?
Here. At this time, may we have the declaration of closed session items by our city attorney?
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. A and B are both existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1. It's the SEC case versus the City of Victorville. The specific title of the case and the case number set forth on the agenda. One item is for the Airport Authority. The other is for the City Council. The third item is real estate negotiations pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, and the property location on Yuma Street is set forth on the agenda along with the negotiating parties.
Thank you, and I skipped over public comments. Sorry about that. And we do have a card this evening. Jennifer Hernandez, you can come up and state your name, please.
My name is Jennifer Hernandez. Thank you very much for letting me come tonight. I am here representing the Committee for Don't Trash Our Desert campaign. So I'm really here just to inform you of the public awareness campaign that we have recently launched, which is called Don't Trash Our Desert. It is tying in with all the current efforts that you as a city council and all the other tying cities have ongoing with, sorry, that's really loud, in efforts to keep our city clean, keep trash out of our desert. So we really want to keep that up and keep it going and see how much farther we can kind of go with that. People ask us, why is the campaign being done? Again, we're supporting existing efforts that the city has already ongoing. We want to do everything we can to keep our city from becoming any worse than it already is as far as the trash in the desert. We want to be proactive, and we want to put out and convey a positive message for positive change. With that, we're looking for maximum exposure to reach residents and visitors alike to the high desert. It's a region-wide campaign. It's not just for the city of Victorville. All cities are involved. And thank you, Doug Robertson, for speaking to us this afternoon about some ideas and options that we may have. We have already currently approached the different cities in the high desert, as well as the city or county of San Bernardino, Burtec and Advanced Disposal Companies, Victor Valley Transit Authority, different media sources, and electronic message board operators, which I'll go into in a second. And we're doing so in order to get our message out on a variety of different venues, such as electronic message boards, websites, Facebook pages, lobby monitors, newsletters, and different speakers bureaus. The members of our committee represent a variety of different organizations, and those are the Victor Valley College, Sunset Hills, City of Hesperia, Oak Hills Property Owners Association, Daily Press Desert Dispatch, Oro Grande School District, Apple Valley Kiwanis Club, Stevens Consulting Services, Victor Valley Community College Foundation, Victor Valley Animal Protective League Humane Society, Assemblyman Jay Obernolte's office, Supervisor Robert Levingood's office, San Bernardino County Code Enforcement, Town of Apple Valley Police, Spring Valley Lake Association, Victor Valley Transit Authority, Victor Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority, and we're continuing to invite more and more people and different organizations to come on board and get involved because it's really, really, really important. In my eyes, in my world, I work here, I play here, I live here, I have kids here, and I want to leave behind a clean place for them to live, and I want it to be somewhere that they're proud to be part of. Way too often we hear people make comments, it's time to get out of the desert, it's look at this place, the homeless, the trash, and it's tiresome and it's disheartening to hear. So next, Thursday morning, this Thursday, June 4th at 11 a.m., we're doing our kickoff rally, and it's going to be at Victor Valley College at 11 a.m. We invite the council to come out. Personally invite Mayor Garcia to come out, any other council members that want to come out. If it's possible, maybe do a proclamation to really kick off the rally would be great. But we invite the community to come out as well. It's open to the public. We really want to get this message out there. we're not asking for anything. We don't need money. We don't need services. We just want people to be aware of this campaign and keeping our desert clean. Aside from that, we're going to be continuing to find different opportunities to speak to other organizations. So we want to do these speakers bureaus. We want to get involved in other nonprofits, talk to all the different Rotary clubs, all the Kiwanis clubs, the Seroptimists, the Optimists, anybody that can get behind what we're doing as a campaign and help us, whether it be starting community cleanups themselves, sharing our information on their websites, putting a link on their website, just our slogan on their websites, putting them up on the message boards. We've already got a couple message boards throughout the different towns that have "Don't Trash Our Desert" and it flashes periodically. Again, it's just a message. We want people to be aware of the trash that's in our desert. We did a community cleanup a couple weeks ago, and we were out there in our shirts, and people are honking and waving, and we're putting it on Facebook and on social media. Again, it's just public awareness. So some of our successes, real quick, I don't want to take too much of your time. We have our website, we have our logo, we have our Facebook page. We've already in the last 2.5 weeks have over 800 likes and shares on our Facebook page. So people are seeing it and people are aware. So it's really, really important, and we realize the importance, and we see that people actually are wanting to take part. It's going to be a long process, but we feel that it's really, really important to clean up our desert. We have city council meetings. So Mike Stevenson went to Adelanto City Council. Terry Sines went and spoke at Apple Valley City Council. And Kerry Thomas is speaking at Hesperia City Council this evening. We just want our cities to be involved, be aware of what we're doing, get involved if you can, come out to our rally, share our slogan. We have a T-shirt for you, Mayor Garcia. So I apologize for my casual appearance this evening, but I have to represent, and these are our shirts and our logo, so we all said we'd have to wear them. So again, it's just public awareness. I really want my family included. I mean, the comments that we get, and it ties in with another committee that I sent on for pride in our community. It's all about pride and keeping our desert clean and making sure that our kids have a safe, clean environment to grow up in. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, we do have, our website is don'ttrashourdesert.com. And if you go to our website and you go under partners, I believe, there's all the different city logos. And if you click on the logo, Victorville City logo will take you to your community page and your different recycling and cleanup and that kind of stuff. So it's already linked to our page. So thank you very much. May I bring the
Jennifer,
shirt?
thank you very much. I don't have any other cards, and I don't see anyone else in the audience, so we will recess to our closed session. Our regular session convenes at 6 p.m. Victorville Water District and the Victorville Housing Trust. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Kennedy? Here. Councilmember McEachron? Here. Councilmember Negretti?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cox?
Here.
Mayor Garcia?
Here. May we have session announcement by the city attorney, please?
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We had 3 closed session items this evening. Items A and B were existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 5495, 6.9D1. The litigation is SEC versus the City of Victorville and other parties. The case numbers and specific names are set forth on the agenda. Item A was for the Airport Authority. Item B was for the City Council. No reportable action with respect to those 2 items. We have another item, item C, real property negotiations pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. The property location is set forth on the agenda along with the negotiating parties, and we have not yet had a chance to discuss that. We'll be convening in closed session at the conclusion of the regular meeting. And to the extent there's reportable action, we will report it at the conclusion of the closed session.
Thank you. We will have the invocation delivered by Pastor Todd Arnett of the High Desert Church. After that, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Police Chief Sam Lucia. Please stand.
Father God, we come before you tonight very grateful to be a people who live in this high desert, specifically in the city of Victorville. We're grateful, God, for who you are and the way that you have made yourself known to us, the way that you have blessed a city that, like every city, goes through its roller coaster seasons. Thank you for the season that we are in now. And I pray, God, thank you for this city council. Thank you for the others that are here in front of us tonight. I pray wisdom. I pray discernment. I pray integrity and perseverance over their lives, that you would really help them to lead well in the offices that they hold. Thank you for the people they represent. Thank you for the mission of this city to give people lives that are meaningful and that matter. And help us, God, even as a city, to think beyond ourselves in a way that would honor you. God, for people who are not fortunate, for people who are going through a difficult time, there are many throughout this city of Victorville in need. Help us, those who are in plenty, help us be a source of encouragement to those who are in want. We love you, and we're very grateful for this opportunity tonight. Would this business be done well, and would it be done with wisdom, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two presentations this evening. The first one will be Trailing K-9 presentation by Police Chief Sam Lucia.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thank you. This is actually a very exciting event for us. This is Deputy Ryan Gerard. He's with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. He's assigned to our Rancho Cucamonga station. I wanted to introduce a couple of other guests, too. Sergeant Mario Salazar and Deputy David Moyer. They're guests to us today. I suspect that the city manager has mentioned to some of you or all of you the prospects of a police bloodhound canine here in the city of Victorville. When you say bloodhound, you tend to think of the South and hillbillies and hunting, but bloodhounds have become a major part of modern law enforcement. You're a little more north, aren't you? Probably the biggest realized benefit from a bloodhound is the significant reduction in man-hours spent searching for missing or fleeing persons. And in just a minute, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and he's going to give a short presentation on this. But the work required by human peace officers is often overwhelming when we respond to critical missings, whether they be children, adults, or somebody that's suffering from some other ailment. People can be difficult to find in any environment and can deplete resources very quickly. A dog, on the other hand, has the senses to go far and beyond what a human can, and they can do it very quickly. Knowing we could realize better results through the use of bloodhounds, Deputy Ryan Gerard spent about a year along with his partner down in Rancho by the name of Mike Mason, and they were researching this idea. And they did all of the heavy lifting, and they proposed this to their city, and it was accepted, and we have had overwhelming success with this program. So if I could, I'll be here for questions afterward, but I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and the City Council, to present this opportunity to you. And I'd like to start off by showing a short video. It's about 3 minutes long about what bloodhounds can do. It has some humor in it. And then I'll go into a short presentation about the program.
sniffing evidence was admissible in court. In fact, this nose is so powerful, it dragged a bloodhound 135 miles across the state of Kansas, successfully tracking a scent.
Anybody that's ever kissed a bloodhound on the nose knows what a beautiful nose is all about.
As one of the most famous bloodhounds, McGruff the crime dog can tell you there is no breed of dog that can compete with the bloodhound's sense of smell.
The bloodhounds are unrivaled in their sense of smell.
They can smell a trail over 300 hours old. That's 12 days.
You better keep a leash on them at all times, because if they catch a scent, they're done. You can't stop them.
Their distinct look and sound is easily identifiable, with a unique howl that can be heard for miles. And those long ears and droopy jowls, you'll never mistake this dog for any other. In fact, Droopy pretty much sums it up, from their saggy skin, to their hanging eyes, to their long swinging slobber.
They drool, and they'll shake their head, and you have a big glob of spit going across the room.
They were originally the dogs of monasteries in Belgium, and were famed for their pure blood. In fact, that's where their name comes from, bloodhound, meaning hound of true blood. Not because they can sniff a trail of blood, but they can do that too.
We did such a good job of breeding bloodhounds to have such a strong ability to scent that it's no surprise that when the dog does pick up a scent, they have a harder time listening or hearing you calling to them.
Most dogs are led by humans. Bloodhounds tell humans where to go. Their basic anatomy is made for scenting. As air rushes through the nasal cavity, tiny scent particles are lodged in the nose mucus. From here, the scent receptors go to work and send the info to the olfactory bulb in the brain. It is said that while the human's olfactory sensor is about the size of a postage stamp, the bloodhound's is the size of a handkerchief. But the nose does not do it alone. Their pendulum-like ears act like sweepers, carrying up scents from the ground into the nose. And to assist even further, the various wrinkles on a bloodhound are so important to its design that they have their own names, from the generous lips that hang below each nostril to the flews, which are a continuation of the lips closer to the ear, all the way down to the dewlap, those funny folds around the neck. Lastly, you cannot ignore those bloodhound eyes. Incredibly, when the bloodhound's nose is to the ground, the skin around the eyes falls forward, creating blinders. This keeps the dog more focused on the ground in front of him.
I'd like to stop the video
cool
right
dogs.
here.
There's no
it goes
doubt.
into the bloodhounds aren't the best apartment pets. At this time, I'd like to introduce my canine, Canine Dare, and Canine Ellie. Canine Ellie is being handled by Deputy Moyer right now, and Rob Ripley from the Victorville station will walk my dog, Canine Dare, around. I want to thank Captain Lucia for inviting us up here to present this to you guys, and I look forward to hopefully you guys getting a dog and growing our program. Some of the objectives of this PowerPoint is the overview of our Bloodhound program and how it came about, how we utilize the dogs, some success stories, and the canine training and the certification process. Back in 2012, as I grew in age, the 18-year-olds are a little bit faster than me, and we quite often utilized other bloodhounds from other agencies. I saw a void in our department. I took it to our lieutenant at the time, Lieutenant Bolt, who thought it was a great idea. She took it to our police chief, who took it to our city manager. He liked the idea so much that he said, why don't we get 2 dogs and have 7 days worth of coverage? At that point, in July of 2013, we took it to the Board of Chiefs and the Office of the Sheriff, and they approved it. In October of 2013, our department, the City of Rancho Cucamonga, purchased 2 canines. Canine Deja could not make it here today. She's training in San Diego. In October of 2013, we traveled to Edisto Island, South Carolina, where the dogs were purchased from a company called Georgia Canine, and we attended a 2-week basic boot camp style handler course. We returned in November of 2013. Both dogs had their first fines. Mike's dog had the very first fine. He was able to apprehend a suspect who was stealing third-row seats out of Suburbans in the Ontario Mills area. A week later, my dog apprehended a robbery suspect from a gas station who had fled from the scene and was apprehended about a half mile away. Since the inception, both dogs have totaled more than 40 fines, and they are the only bloodhounds in San Bernardino County. As a matter of fact, there's only 8 on the whole West Coast. Dare and Deja are the most northern bloodhounds in the state of California. Riverside County has 3, Murrieta has 1, Pomona has 1, and Orange County has 2. So how do we utilize them? The biggest way we utilize them is to help locate critical missing adults and children. We know that we spend a tremendous amount of resources and time on locating these at-risk people. We also use them for suspect tracking, fleeing suspects, high-risk robberies, murders, rape suspects, and public relations. These dogs are incredibly great as goodwill ambassadors. It helps bridge that gap between the community and law enforcement. It brings us closer. So what can bloodhounds do? Their tracking ability. Like the video said, these dogs can track up trails up to 300 hours old. These dogs will be certified. My dog's certified on trails that are up to 24 hours old at a 1.5 miles long. They're scent specific. Scent specific means that if I give her that scent article is what we use for her, and it belongs to you, Mayor, she's only going to pick you and not everybody else. She's going to ignore all those other people so that we get the right person 100% of the time. They're single-purpose dogs. They're not a drug dog. They're not an apprehension dog. They're not bite dogs. These are, great-looking, floppy-eared dogs that the community loves. The people of Rancho Cucamonga and the Valley love these dogs. And the capability of it is endless. There's nothing that we won't try with these dogs and deploy them on. We just, prior to coming here, my uniform is a little bit dirty. There was a critical missing person in the city of Victorville. He had been missing since 8 o'clock this morning, and we tried to locate him, but the scent was just not there anymore. The sun and wind had swept it away. So since the inception, the dogs have been called on over 250 times. We've deployed the dog 150 times. They have 40 fines. Deja and Dare have attended over 50 public relation events. Those include parades, events like this, school events for the schools, car shows, anything that the community wants and the city wants, or the sheriff, we attempt to attend as best we can. So some success stories. We talked about, the captain talked about how these can cut down on man hours lost to perimeters and things like that. So in September 2014, I received a call for a stolen vehicle in the city of Rancho Cucamonga that the owner had received a call from somebody that said, "I think your stolen car is in front of my house." And I saw someone walk away from it. I deployed Dare off the driver's seat of the car. She led us to a residence not far away. Inside was a person hiding in a closet. That person was positively identified by the witness. Inside that person's house was stolen property from 60 different victims from all over the counties in Southern California. So we were able to clear 60 crimes. There was a critical missing in Big Bear in January of this year. The person had been missing for 9 days. The search and rescue had been up there. Dare and I and Deja and Mike had been up there for some cold weather training. They asked us if we could assist with some clothes. Our dogs led from the clothes to the lake shore. 3 dogs did. And unfortunately, they found the person the next day in the lake that they had passed. In March of 2015, just recently, Dare was deployed on a critical missing 17-year-old in the city of Rancho Cucamonga. She had been missing for about 3.5 hours. The helicopter was up. Several deputies couldn't find her. I got on scene, and within minutes, we located the person about 1/8 of a mile away, laying down in some bushes. Just recently, in March of 2015, there was a vehicle pursuit that led from the San Manuel Amphitheater into a neighborhood nearby. The helicopter, several deputies were out looking for the person. Dare led us to a yard. In that backyard was a German Shepherd, so we couldn't go in there. The helicopter kept turning. The person popped out of that yard. The German Shepherd saw him, so the German Shepherd bit him, and then he jumped the fence into the waiting hands of the deputies. So some of the professional organizations that we've aligned ourselves with so that we stay current with case law is the National Police Bloodhound Association. That's who certifies our dogs. It's a neutral, third-party bias association. We also use the Canine Training Academy out of Cannon City, Colorado. Georgia Canine National Training Center is the person we bought the dogs from, who we attend the 2-week style boot camp. And then the Inland Empire Canine Association. This just allows us to keep networking with other agencies and building that bond and helping our program grow. So training and certification, the dog and the handler will attend a 2-week basic handler course. During that time, they'll be briefed on what court-mandated training in the state of California. You have to attend 16 hours minimum of training per month with the canine. We exceed that. We attend about 30 hours. We do weekly training, and there's a bi-yearly certification that the dogs need to go through. So some of the benefits of the program. We are the only bloodhounds in law enforcement in San Bernardino County. This helps strengthen our partnerships with other law enforcement agencies in our county and outside our county. It helps build positive relationships within the community. These dogs are great goodwill ambassadors and tools that the city can use to build those and grow those relationships. There's an increased apprehension potential. I talked about some of those cases. The helicopter and several deputies were out on those calls, and it allows those resources to be, the dog shows up and finds the person, it allows those resources to be broken down and applied in different areas. Life-saving potential. I talked about the critical missings that the dogs helped locate, and the cost-saving ability by not losing those man-hours lost to perimeters and the critical missing. That's all I have. I'm available for questions with the captain. I don't know if you want to open up the questions or afterwards.
I have one. Go ahead.
And Sam, maybe this is, or for all of you, obviously this would reduce the need for deputies per se with respect to missing persons and things like that, but can you speak to what that might equate as it relates to that? So if you didn't have a dog, what would it require in man-hours, deputies, number of deputies to find a missing person versus if you had a dog?
So on a critical missing, we spend a tremendous amount of resources. That Big Bear, the critical missing we had there, they had search teams from all over the state helping look for that person, along with our helicopters and deputies on the ground. When we got there 9 days later, it just happened to be a fluke that we were up there. They were able to break, because they found the person the next day in the lake. Our dogs led them to that, and that's the area they searched in. They were able to break down all of those areas. I don't know if you're looking for a number, I don't know the cost that it saved our county and man-hours lost in doing that, but it was significant because I know we had people from Santa Barbara County and Ventura County and San Diego County. When we talk about a criminal case, a perimeter set up on a robbery suspect or even a murder suspect, you're not going to break down that perimeter till you find that person, which means sometimes deputies have to go yard to yard to yard to yard. These dogs, with a great scent article, will lead us to the yard that person's in and cut down significantly on the man-hours lost. And as soon as that person gets into custody, all that perimeter can be broken down, and those deputies can go back to handling the calls for service that are holding. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, just a quick example. Today, when we were looking for that critical missing, I had 6 beat cars out and 2 Robert cars, 2 Rover cars. That's not counting the traffic guys that were out there or the detectives that were at the station today. We had at least 6 units that were tied up on that for 4 to 6 hours trying to figure out where this guy may have gone, where he is, who last saw him, and when you've got a critical missing, at what point do you say we're going to stop looking? So that's just an example of what happened today. One thing he didn't talk about was the no liability dog issue. These aren't bite dogs. They're not trained to bite. There's significant reduced liability having a team of dogs like this available. One issue today why the dogs weren't successful is because we had to notify Rancho Cucamonga. We had to get a hold of a dog handler. He had to figure out if he could respond, and then he had to drive up here through all that mess in the Cajon Pass. And he just wasn't able to get on a good scent today.
Sam, question. You talked about the dog leading you to the front door, telling you that person was inside. Does that constitute enough probable cause for you to enter the house? Do you have to go get a warrant?
No, it doesn't constitute probable cause, but it gives us reasonable suspicion to begin building on that call at that point. And we're pretty good at what we do.
You would have to go get a warrant.
Sure.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're the policeman. I'm an accountant.
But this is a low-cost, low-tech, high-return tool that the police department can use. And I think you ought to consider these animals.
Not a question, just a comment. I want to thank all the dogs and the deputies that came up to present. I did have a pretty lengthy discussion with Sheriff McMahon, and if you remember from the report, Rancho Cucamonga decided to get 2 dogs. One of the reasons for that is dogs only work so many hours. The deputy that handles the dog only works so many hours. So not only do they get full coverage for the week by having 2 dogs, but also if they're on a long trail that lasts hours and hours and hours, eventually the dogs and the deputies do tire, and they need to sort of leapfrog each other. So in talking with Sheriff McMahon, what he's indicated is that if Victorville is interested and we decide through our budget process to go ahead and get a dog, that he would also get a dog as well for the county area in the high desert. One thing to keep in mind is that these dogs could be called away to other areas of the county, other areas of the high desert at any time. It's sort of part of the price of admission with having one of these. We wouldn't refuse to send a dog to a neighboring city that had a critical missing or something like that.
Thank you.
Let me talk about the lifespan or the working span of the dog. Typically, these dogs will work between the ages of 6 to 8 years. And the way we feed them and how we care for them can extend those a year to 2 years longer. So there was recently one of the Riverside dogs passed away at 12. They worked the dog for 11 years. So their return on investment was well into that. We're hoping that you guys do get up. We don't mind coming up here and helping out up here. It's just a long drive for us, and time is of the essence. I mean, think of your little ones, grandchildren, children. If they go missing, you want them back in your arms as quickly as possible. And if the closest resource is coming from an hour away, it does hamper a lot of things. And trust me, we'll make that drive. I don't care what time of the night it is or how far I have to drive or fly. We'll make that call or make that drive. But the life expectancy of a working dog is about 8 years. I know the dog, they're around a year old is when they'll be deployed, and you could have 7 to 8, 9, 10 years of that dog working for the city and doing great things for it. These dogs have done great things for the city of Rancho Cucamonga and the county and the citizens of San Bernardino County. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Next, we have another presentation, and this is a presentation of Public Works Day ESA winners, and it will be presented by Ro Redcliffe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Garcia, for the introduction, and good evening, council members. We're very happy to be here tonight. That was a really cool presentation about the hound dogs. I didn't know some of those things. But I'm here tonight to talk about how awesome Public Works is. And we had an excellent event last Thursday. It's called Public Works Day. And what this is it's a field trip for 300 fourth grade students from several schools in the Victor Valley Elementary School District. And the Public Works Day event enables these students to learn how the Public Works Department contributes to the quality of life in Victorville. Each year, Public Works is celebrated across the nation, and this year's theme is Community Begins Here. There would be no community without the quality of life Public Works provides. There would be no community to police and protect, no public to lead or represent. Public Works allows the world as we know it to be. This year's theme, Community Begins Here, speaks to the essential nature of Public Works services in support of everyday quality of life. So last Thursday, students visited 9 different Public Works stations, providing instructive activity to broaden their civic knowledge and understanding of the Public Works infrastructure. So tonight we're here to award the essay contest winners as students were invited to write about their favorite Public Works career. the essays received showed that we did indeed accomplish our goal. And you can kind of see the event up there and all the wonderful students. Okay, so before we award our 3 winners, I want to thank Mayor Garcia for supporting our event. She came out and she spent time with the kids, ate lunch with them, took pictures with them, signed their passport books, and they loved it. And I just wanted to mention that because I feel that it was an impressionable and memorable moment for the kids. So thank you very much. We also want to thank all the city staff for their professionalism in presenting their careers and 21st century skills while presenting what they know about the various places that they work here in the city. So the Victorville Municipal Utility Services, graffiti, recycling, Vector truck, CCTV van, water quality, street sweeping, fleet, and traffic signals. We also want to thank our partners, Victor Elementary School District, and here with us tonight is Michelle. Come on up, Michelle. We couldn't do this event without partnering with them, and we're so grateful for all their hard work. They get all the students organized, we get the activities organized, and it equals success. So thank you, Michelle. And she wasn't a one-man band. She has her staff as well, so we want to, extend a thank you there. Also, we want to thank the elementary schools who participated: Delray, Discovery, Galileo, Liberty, Mojave Vista, Parkview, and West Palms for attending. We're so grateful, last but not least, for our sponsors. We couldn't have done it without them. So we're so thankful for the businesses in this community that invest in our kids, learning about how important it is to have Public Works take care of our infrastructure. So thank you to American Landscape and Maintenance. Thank you to American Organics, Green Dubort-Nowski, Graves and King, High Desert Cultural Arts Foundation, Mitsubishi Corporation, Sterling Capital Investments, Victor Valley Transit Authority, Victor Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority, West Coast Arborists, and Victorville Recycling and Water Conservation. So thank you tonight for letting us be here, and we're going to announce our winners now. Thank you to our wonderful students. They are so well behaved, and 3 of these excellent essay contest winners are here with us tonight. We're so grateful to have you. Thank you so much to your parents for bringing you tonight, and grandparents and family members. So congratulations to our 3rd place winner, receiving a $25 Barnes & Noble gift card. This student's essay highlighted the value of electricity and how attending the City of Victorville Municipal Utility Services Station taught that electricity does more than let a person just play video games and watch TV. It helps power our city and businesses and homes. From Parkview Prep School, let's welcome Tanya Fowler. And congratulations to our 2nd place winner, receiving a $50 Barnes & Noble gift card. The student wrote an impressive essay on how important recycling is to Victorville in keeping our city clean and organized. From Galileo Academy 101 School, please welcome Messiah Kreiner. And congratulations to our 1st place winner tonight. This is super exciting. Receiving a $100 Barnes & Noble gift card, this student wrote an outstanding essay about the City of Victorville's Water Quality Division. They work hard to provide the public with safe, clean water to drink, and we're so grateful for that. Our winner is from Galileo Academy 101 School as well. We'd like to invite Etta Montgomery to come on up. Thank you very much.
That was so lovely. I think I had more fun than the children did. Let's see, next we have our city clerk. Please present the agenda and any revisions for the record.
The City Council of the City of Victorville welcomes the public's participation in tonight's meeting. Persons who wish to address the council on a specific item or on any item that does not appear on the agenda are requested to complete one of the white speaker cards located in the council chambers lobby and give it to the city clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call upon each individual who has submitted a speaker card. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per speaker or less, as deemed necessary by the mayor. Communications are to be addressed directly to the city council. Individual comments to staff or members of the audience are not permitted. Any individual or group who engages in disruptive conduct during the meeting will be removed from the chambers by order of the mayor. Thank you for your cooperation. All documents to be considered for approval at this meeting are before the council. There is only one revision to tonight's agenda. It is on the dais for the council and has been made available to the public. It's a revision to item number B3. It's replacement page 78 of the in the budget information. And those are all the revisions I have, Mayor Garcia.
Thank you. We have no appeal hearings this evening. Therefore, we will be moving on to item B, public hearings. And B1, confirming the annual assessment and approval of the engineer's report for the citywide street lighting assessment district. I now open the public hearing, and I do not have any cards for item B1. So I turn this over to the council for comments.
I have a question, Madam Mayor. I believe it was a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know how often we go through this, but there were individuals who were assessed that had vacant land, and I know that there was a short explanation, and I know that the engineer or someone from administration met with a couple of property owners. This is for the maintenance or the lighting bill, not for the construction. That's correct?
That's correct.
And what was the final determination if individuals have completely vacant land?
I believe there is a lesser amount. I see Mr. Gingler, city engineer, coming down to answer that question, but there is a reduced amount versus something with a dwelling unit. Brian, if you can give us a little more detail on that.
For undeveloped land, if it's residential, there's a zero assessment. That would be undeveloped remote, where there's no paved access. There's a zero assessment. For developed, if it has access, which would basically mean a paved road, it's 50% of the assessed rate, the full assessed rate.
The item before you tonight doesn't change any of the amounts. Any kind of a change would have to go through an entire new election cycle.
That's all I had. Just wanted to clarify. The zero assessment for vacant land that's owned residential. Thank you.
Mayor Garcia, I think you need to formally close the public hearing too, if you're ready.
I'm sorry, I have to do.
Just need to close the public hearing if there's no further comments.
Oh, okay. My apology. Yes, I did fail to close the public hearing. So now at this time, do we have an action or resolution?
I'd move we adopt resolution number 15-026 for fiscal year 15-16, confirming the annual assessment and approval of the engineer's report for the citywide street lighting assessment district.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Mr. McEachron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item B2. This is an item that has been carried over from our Let me make sure here. It was carried over from public hearing on June 2nd to be continued.
This was originally scheduled for public hearing, Mayor Garcia, on May 5th, and it has been continued. It was continued at the May 19th meeting as well.
Correct. Okay.
And staff is requesting a further continuance tonight, but you should see if there's any public comment at this time before continuing it.
Correct. I don't have any cards. I don't know if there's someone else here that would like to speak on this item. I don't
think
see.
the public hearing is continued to be open until we finalize it. We have not, so I move we adopt staff recommendation to continue this item. And is it to June 16? Is that the staff recommendation?
That's correct.
That's it.
Okay, so this will be continued to June 16th.
Yes.
Vote on it?
There's a motion, should have a second and a vote on it.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Kennedy to continue to June 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
The next item is item B3, establishing the annual budget for fiscal year 2015 to 2016. I now open the public hearing. I believe I do have some cards here.
Madam Mayor, staff would like to make a brief presentation to the
I'm
council,
sorry.
if that's
I
okay.
didn't see you. Okay.
So, I have handled a lot of these presentations in the past. Mr. Bill Webb, our deputy city manager, is going to be handling this. He took the lead on the budget this year as well as his staff. He has a relatively brief presentation. His staff and the department heads are available, as well as myself and Mr. Metzler, should you have any questions following that.
Very well. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you, as stated, there's actually the following 3 items are related to the budget. This is the proposal for the annual budget for fiscal year 2015-2016 minus the golf budget, which will be acted upon separately. The next item following will be the CalPERS contribution for employees and the resolutions necessary should you choose to change that contribution. And then the following item is, of course, the golf budget, Green Tree Golf Course budget. So beginning with the overview for the general budget, some of the highlights as noted in the staff report. This budget includes the job classification and salary study implementation as approved by the council, cost of living adjustment of 0.5%, and that was based on last year's consumer price index, salary increase of 1.2% based on COLAs not given in past years as directed by council at a prior meeting, and a reduction in city liability by reallocating employee CalPERS contribution from the city to the employees. And that is the total reallocation of 8%. It also increases a salary increase of 5% to match the average per the salary study of the other cities that were studied at the time. A quick overview on citywide expenditures shows that the priority for the city and city council continues to be public safety, along with others such as water and community services to serve the residents and the businesses throughout the city. Citywide revenues, the majority are the charges for services rendered, followed by taxes. On the following slides, you'll see that we are continuing to improve in our sales tax, including sales tax in lieu, and it is rising at a quicker pace the last couple of years. Property tax, not so much. Still increasing, but at a much slower pace, and we're hoping that that also will pick up in time. Franchise tax, also on the rise. And transient occupancy tax increasing thanks to also the expected revenue from the new Holiday Inn around the corner. Similarly, general fund revenues, we focus on general fund. That's where we can do more with the money that we get. There's no restrictions. And the actual revenues, likewise, the majority, overwhelming majority, are from taxes. And we still continue with public safety being our priority as far as our expenses. It maintains approximately where it was last year at 65%, with community services coming in second. And finally, this kind of gives a good look of where we've been and where we're going. We're still increasing. This is our general fund revenue and expenditures. This is the first time I've actually really looked at this. In prior years, I've seen it up on the screen, but I wasn't really paying much attention. And I think it shows even during the good times, we did spend much of the time more than we were bringing in. We seem to have come to a leveling out place. Even though our revenues aren't as high as the highest in the 08-09 cycle, we have been able to curb our expenditures quite well. And in fact, this year our revenues are above our expected expenditures. There's obviously other factors in there, legal costs, et cetera, over the last couple of years that have made it a little bumpy. But again, it's a good sign the revenues continue to improve, but at a slow pace. This budget before you is balanced, would be balanced other than the $400,000 surplus in the general fund. And as stated in the staff report, there are options that hopefully at the end of this the council will discuss and give direction, which we just by vote will include in the budget if so adopted. Those options, I believe, were in the memos that came with your budget as well as the staff report. Finally, there are a couple of errors that I would like to correct here on the record. I think as you can see from the budget over the last couple of years, staff has put in a lot of time to make a more reader-friendly document. There are more graphics, there's more language rather than data and numbers. I want to assure you that the data and numbers are accurate. When transferring that into whether it's a hard copy or for online purposes, which we have the budget online, we wanted to make it more appealing and, as I stated, more friendly to the users. And of course, there have been some errors that have occurred in the process. A couple quick fixes. First, let me note that any typos that are not content related will be corrected before it is printed or goes online if found between then and now. Thank you. Councilman Kennedy pointed out an error in how we were representing transfers. And on the top of page 7, I believe, the general fund transfers in and out, the amount of $802,000 should be in brackets as it is a transfer out. And by the way, if there are other similar transfers noted, we will correct those also. Also on page 11, in the table under golf, there's a percentage noted that should be changed. That percent is erroneous. It was transferred. The formula didn't carry with it. I believe it says the golf budget has declined by 600 or 6,000% or something of that sort. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It has actually increased by 5%. And finally, on page 78, I believe that was the handout. The SCLA funds were missing other revenues. So a revised page 78 has been issued. Please note that these revenues were correctly accounted for on page 8's spendable fund balance, as stated as they are in the actual data and numers that make up the technical part of the budget itself. And with that, as the city manager stated, the directors and appropriate staff, personnel officer, and finance manager are also here to answer any specific or technical questions. I'm sure there will be questions, and I will do my best if there are any general questions regarding the overall budget or some of the main components from class and comp to PERS on. That concludes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have just a couple, Bill. I know that's a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
On page 7 and 8, and all I want to do is just raise this issue. I'm not really fishing for an answer. There are a number of funds on those 2 pages, and I think, just for my own edification and maybe for the rest of the council, I'd like to schedule some kind of I don't know if it needs to be a workshop or something
Sure.
we can do in a council meeting to talk about some of these fund balances. We've got some negatives in there that kind of surprised me. Doug and I talked about Measure I, which is a road fund, and road diff. And those are 2 very, very different funds, but they both deal with roads. And I just think that would be a good thing for us to,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind. The other thing is on page 11 and, well, actually on page 12, this is sort of the general fund summary. You're expecting that revenue is going to be about $2.5 million higher next year than they are this year, and expenses will be about $1 million more. And that $2.5 million is all from taxes. And really property taxes we're budgeting a little less than last year, sales taxes more, but I think we've got good evidence to support that projection, don't you?
Yes, we are still being very conservative, but if you remember the last couple of years with legal fees, and I want to make it clear, it's not our typical city legal fees. It has to do with our SEC, et cetera. There were large expenditures, and whereas last year we had to dip into our reserves, we are very happy that this year, and to report to you that we are not projecting to touch the remaining reserves as far as the general fund goes. There are other accounts also which were in a similar predicament, and some related to the same issue. And they also had to dip into their reserves, or are at this point, to close out the year. What I can say is all the indicators are that the economy is not increasing as fast as a couple of years ago we were all hoping, and we've seen that. But it still is continuing to improve. And I think, as I stated on that last diagram, you can see a steeper curve in our expenditures. And so we've now absorbed some of the legal cost and anticipated them better and cut in other areas. I will say that for the most part, this is a maintenance-only budget. There is not a lot of growth. There's not going to be a lot of new technology, in fact, pretty much none, and things of that sort throughout the budget. Everybody really pulled in tight, but I think after a few years of conditioning, we understand what and where and what needs to be done. And I want to thank all the departments. They were all very cooperative. You know, everybody wants certain things, but they understood what the priorities are. We tried to address the city's priorities first and foremost, and especially as directed by the council on some other issues.
And that kind of gets me to my second point. The spending this year, or in 15-16, is going to be $1 million higher. And it's up and down in several of those categories, but overall, the $1 million increase in spending looks to be in public safety, and it's in police. So the extra $1 million that we're spending this year is in our police contract.
Is going to the community, to serve the community.
Yeah, the police contract is actually your first item on your consent calendar, and it's up almost exactly $1 million. It's slightly over $1 million for the current level of service.
Is that going to involve more positions?
No, it does not. That's for the current level of service. Depending on the council's decision on the staff's recommendation for an additional deputy and the bloodhound, that would be one additional position. One of the things that wasn't mentioned in the presentation is that at times that the bloodhound isn't needed, that deputy is a deputy on patrol. So it is adding an extra one more deputy position.
That was all I had. Thank you. Very nice job, frankly. I don't know if the public would ever take the time to read through this thing. It's huge, but...
I have a question. Well, I don't have a question, I have a comment. I was going to apologize for not being here when the city council had their study session on the budget, since I've been out of state for 2 weeks, but then I found out they didn't have a study session. Have one, and so I think my recommendation is have the hearing, take the information, continue this item, and have a study session prior to the adoption. I do have a lot of questions, but
are we in agreement to continue?
That's all I had.
I don't know, is the public hearing still open, or?
Public hearing has actually not yet been opened yet formally. We should open it, take comments, and then the council can decide, close the public hearing and either take action on the item this evening, or you could also, even if you wanted to, continue the public hearing. But it's up to the council how you'd like to proceed. But first we should open the public hearing and take public comment.
I open the public hearing at this time. And I do have, I take testimony. And I do have 2 cards. The first one is Wade Piper.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for the ability to address you tonight. And I'd like to ask you to maybe consider some other options as far as the PERS and the compensation for the employees of the city. Earlier this year, you gracefully agreed to a 1.2% increase for cost of living, and then agreed to the March index, which equated to 0.5%. But the budget as presented to me appears that that's pretty much a wash with the PERS. It's not a cost of living, it's a cost of PERS now. So in essence, we're still behind. You know, we've been losing, you know, cost of living, things go up, bread, milk, gasoline. Well, gasoline's gone down, but it goes up and down. But anyway, that 1.7% basically is it's not a cost of living. It's a cost of PERS as the budget's presented. You know, you've stated that, or they've stated that the economy's doing better, but at the same time, we're going backwards. As the budget's presented, it looks to me like I'm going to bring home 1.3% less next year, starting in July. I'm already 10%, you know, for furlough hours behind. You know, I would love to work the extra hours. You know, it'd help my family. The city seems to be able to gain that 1.3% that I'm going to lose. You know, it'll go back into the city, which, as a business, I understand. But today, the city pays the 8% contribution. As the budget stands, or you know, is presented, it won't. But there's a possibility of just saying, you know, we can give employees an 8% increase. You start paying your PERS. It's kind of a wash for both employees and the city. You know, the city's already doing that right now. It's kind of a no harm, no foul. I mean, again, I may be wrong on my numbers, but I actually also, too, in the note that we've seen, it said that, you know, public perception is a lot of it. As somebody with Victor Valley Water had opportunity to try to hire people, when times were good, I had a very hard time as far as the water trade, like consider pipe fitting, you know, something like that, to get experienced people to work for the wages that we offered. You know, our wages are, as far as prevailing wage, are typically half of what we pay contractors to do work for us. When times are good, trying to hire, they would say, no, I'm not interested. You don't pay enough. Then when times get bad, those companies go out of business, those people get desperate, they look at us like we're bad people. Because when I started in my career in water, I actually took about a 50% cut in pay in the interest of my family for the things like insurance, the fact that I'm going to work steady year round, and you know, things like that. To me, it was part of the package. You know, we do not make, the majority of the employees out there do not make the, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars that the public thinks we do. And again, I would appreciate if maybe you would at least consider that, you know, the employees that have been out there during the last few years, when times have been bad, that already have furlough days, that have tried to keep up the level of service with a whole lot less people. And I think that for the most part, it's probably been fairly successful. We've done a good job. This is going to hurt basically everybody. I think there are other options. I mean, even if I don't necessarily like this option, but at least it's not taken away to go up to the 7 or the 6.7% and say, okay, that's what it is. We'll figure out the 1.3. It's not taking away. The budget as presented is taking away. There will be employees making less money again in July. I respectfully ask if you consider maybe other options. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. The next person is Jeff Ricker.
Hi, good evening, council members. Thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to us. This is my first time speaking in front of the council, so I might be a little nervous. I apologize.
I'm sorry, did I mispronounce your name?
No, it's Ricker, R-I-C-K-E-R. I work for the Victorville Water District. I'm a proud employee. I love what I do. I love getting wet and dirty and muddy. I never grew up, I guess. I don't know. Give you a little background. Born and raised here in the Victor Valley, Apple Valley, since 1977. My grandfather had a business down on Tracy Street for years. I used to work for a local contractor from 2000 to 2007. It was called Kelly's Underground Construction. We did a lot of underground for SCLA. In fact, I was involved with hangars 1, 2, and 3 out there. Did a lot of the sewer storm water drain, or sewer water storm drain. 2007, I saw the slowdown happening, so I kind of jumped ship. I got accepted here with the city of Victorville. I was happy. I was excited. Like, I'm going to work towards my retirement. It's great. I fastly moved up in 2008. I got promoted to a worker 2 from a 1. In 2009, budget cuts happened. We had to make do with the city, and we did. We didn't like it, but we still did it. We were down to 11 people at one point in our field department, covering 100 square miles of the water district area. We still kept up the same level of service. In 2010, I think the benefit package got raised. We had to start paying part of our benefits. I could no longer afford to keep my wife on the same plan. She had to go to her own plan. 2011, I think the rates went up again for the benefits as far as medical, dental, vision. I believe in 2012, you did give us a 1.2. I thank you for that. It only covered the cost of the actual medical that went up again. So really didn't get anything positive out of it. 2013 came around, I believe. The medical went back up, or actually 2013, 2014, I'm sorry. They went down a little bit, which helped out. We still didn't receive a COLA or anything like that, as prices and everything is still spiked. Milk, bread, meat, that kind of stuff. Even the boots that I wear have gone up quite considerably, and these only last like 6 months. Basically what I'm saying is I've seen the memo. We got it the day before Memorial Weekend at, I believe, 12:32 p.m. And the way I understood it is we are getting a 5% increase. We're getting a 1.7 COLA, but yet we're going to have to start paying for our PERS, which is 8%. I am one of the ones that didn't, in the class and comp study, didn't get a raise. I'm not looking for one. I'm excited that my fellow workers are getting one. They deserve one. They work hard. We all do. But like I said, I'm the one that didn't. Still, it doesn't bother me, but it did bother me when I was getting another cut with this budget. And with that being said, I just really hope there's something else that we can do. I think there's another alternative that we can do to stop taking it from the employees. Like I said, I lost a house too in 2009. I just got my email. I'm signing escrow tomorrow on a new house, but just to learn that I'm taking another 1.3%. Grant you, it's only $13 for every $1,000, but it's still in negative. And it's going to affect me later on in retirement too, because your retirement's based off of your last paycheck working here. So eventually I will lose out. So I just ask the council to please look at every option we can do and see if there's something else we can do different besides taking it from the employees. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone. I don't have any more cards. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak?
Mayor Garcia, then if there's no further comments, you have the option of closing the public hearing at this point and then having the council discuss how they'd like to proceed.
I close the public hearing at this time, and we will decide if this will be continued.
Mayor Garcia, if I might, you know, we're faced with a unique situation here, and continuing this, obviously, we could have a workshop, and then a workshop after that, and a workshop after that. My concern is that we can't even get this council together to have a workshop for something that has been requested by staff in the next month. Considering that we can't even figure out a way to get that done, I highly doubt we're going to be able to get a workshop done prior to July 1st. A budget is a living, breathing document. If I'm not mistaken, Doug, you can speak to this, but it can be changed, it can be amended, it can be adjusted. My concern is that we go into July 1st without any sort of approved document that allows us to move forward, assuming, let's say, we want to discuss specific issues of the document, i.e. the CalPERS contribution, which, from my perspective, we've gone through this at Sandbag. Every government agency has gone through this over the last couple of years, where the government continues to contribute 100% of the employee contribution. That is going away. There's no way that government can sustain that. If you're looking for this council to continue to do that, I think that's not going to go anywhere. And if this council were to adopt that, it's not sustainable over any period of time. When you talk about health insurance costs, I have to take my hat off to the employees who established a committee this last year. Tom Jordan, who's no longer with us, I wish he was here tonight. I sat with him and met with him and went over what that committee was able to do. And I will tell you, being in the health insurance business, being an insurance broker, what they were able to accomplish without a broker is amazing. We initially got a 40% increase from Aetna. 40%. And if they hadn't got involved, if they hadn't done the work that they did, this council would be faced with a lot of different decisions up here tonight, and CalPERS would be the least of them. But I will tell you that my hat's off to the staff and the members of that committee. I hope you will extend that to them, because from my perspective, what they were able to do, I think the ultimate increase, there was an adjustment in benefits. Obviously, you gave up something with respect to co-pays, deductibles, prescription benefits, but you gave up a little bit to get a very small increase. Folks, today in the news, they are talking about, because of the Affordable Care Act, insurance companies are looking to increase their rates next year somewhere in the range of 15 to 25%. Okay, I don't know how this city is going to deal with that in the future, but that is a reality we have to face. So that will not go away. My point is this. If we continue to kick this can down the road, assuming that this council doesn't have the ability to get together, all five of us, in the next month or two, what good does that do us? We need to adopt a budget. We need to make a decision with respect to, these issues with, do we want a public information officer? We had the presentation here by the Sheriff's Department tonight about bringing on an additional deputy with a bloodhound. I'm 100% in support of that. obviously there must be a need for a new fire truck lease. These are things that we need to make decisions on. If we prolong them, then all that does is put the city behind the eight ball, and we need to move forward. So from my perspective, I think we need to make a decision. I'm more than willing to have a workshop, but we shouldn't hold the city hostage and put ourselves in handcuffs and not be able to move forward by not adopting a budget.
Clarification, B3 is the adoption of the budget, am I right?
That's correct.
B4 are the other issues of PERS contribution and pre-tax payments and so on.
That's correct.
Yes, but the budget includes.
I understand that. Understand.
And any changes to PERS would affect the revenues and expenditures across the board.
I understand that. Are we putting the cart before the horse? Should we be voting on B4 before B3?
No, the PERS resolutions will follow the budget, is correct.
Okay.
Right. But one shouldn't be done without the other is what I was saying. If it's continued, they need to be, all three should be continued would be the recommendation. So as we don't just vote on PERS or just vote on the budget without PERS.
Well, I'm going to move approval to adopt the budget.
Second.
Now, is that including all three items or just the?
We should handle them separately, each resolution separately.
Okay, very good. So that would be a B2,
I'll
item
move
B2.
approval of 15037, the city council budget.
Actually, it's B3 that we're voting on.
Andre, did you mean each resolution or each public hearing?
Public hearing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because there's four, I think there's four resolutions
Resolutions
that are
in B3.
regarding the budget. Those can be taken collectively.
Right,
can't
but the PERS is a separate public
Right.
hearing, as is
Free in those resolutions.
all the resolutions. Could be one motion, correct. So one
Okay,
motion.
because the public comment we heard didn't deal with this item, it dealt with the next item, B4. Specifically, I mean,
It has,
it deals with the budget because the budget assumes that the others are going to be approved.
Correct.
I mean, I don't care.
certainly should handle B3, B4, B5 separately. But you're right, if you adopt B3, you heard from staff that they are all tied together, so they all impact one another.
Well, that's my understanding, and I just want to make sure that I understand correctly, because it looks to me if we approve B3, we're approving B4 and 5.
The only thing is B5 can't be voted on by two members.
That's correct.
But
The
dealing
other
with,
ones can.
can we deal with B3?
Three and
You
B4?
can have a motion for all resolutions
All three
related
resolutions?
to B3.
Do we need a public hearing on each one?
You've had a public hearing on this item already, and closed the public hearing.
Okay, I close the public hearing.
There's a
Testimony, I'm sorry, we have to take action. Resolution numbers 15-039, 15-040, and 15-041.
No, Mayor Garcia, on item B3, the resolutions would be 15-037, the City Council resolution, the Library Board of Trustees Resolution 15-001, the Airport Authority Resolution 15-001, and the Victorville Water District Resolution 15-008. And I believe there's a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Mr. McEachron to
Correct, and
adopt those.
that's item B3.
That's my motion.
That's correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries with
No,
Mr. Cox
no.
voting no.
Voted no, no, no.
I'm sorry.
3-0.
Okay.
It failed.
Okay. The resolution does not pass on a vote of 2 to 3. Yes votes, Mr. McKennedy and Mr. McEachron. No votes, Mr. Cox, Ms. Garcia, and Mr. Negretti.
Since we still have the issue here, I'm going to request in the form of a motion that we set a budget session. We have 3 Tuesdays left. We can do that. Prior to July 1, there's plenty of time. And I'm sure that, ask the clerk, what are those dates, calendar dates?
9th, June 23rd, and June 30th.
So, question to the council, I don't want to make a motion that includes the date if you know you're not going to be here. And if no one can make those dates, then maybe there's another day a week. But I believe we need a study session to answer the questions not only that we have, but some questions that have been raised by the employees. I think they deserve an answer. So my motion is to set a study session. That study session be, it would be a study session. It wouldn't be for a public hearing, but still everybody could attend and they could speak, ask questions. And so the question to the council before I make a motion, is it better to have the city clerk poll the council to see available dates and then publish those? Or do you know now what dates you might be available?
I'm available the 9th and the 30th.
I'm available any day.
Any day.
I then make a motion that we continue this until the 9th. That gives us plenty of time, almost 3 weeks until the 30th. And then we have another regular scheduled meeting, I believe the 16th. Perfect. So that my motion is to continue study session 9th.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Negretti to continue to a study session on June 9th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Is there a time you can do?
At
6
the
o'clock?
normal
5 or
time
6?
that the council meets.
6 o'clock?
That was understood in the motion. Oh, thank you.
So we continue on with B4.
Yes.
B4, CalPERS employee contributions. I open the public hearing at this time.
Madam Mayor, at the close of the public hearing, staff would recommend this be continued to
Oh, I'm sorry,
the
yes.
9th as well, once you close the public hearing.
And Mayor Garcia, I'd also recommend that you incorporate the prior two comments into this public hearing since they're relevant to this item as well. You can just incorporate those comments into this item.
Okay. The same comments that we had for B3.
Correct. The public comments.
So I do close B3.
If there's nobody else wants to speak on this item, then I'd recommend closing the public hearing.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item B3?
B4, Madam Mayor, B4.
Well,
B4.
B4.
I'm confused.
Anyone that want to speak on item B4? So I open the public hearing, and I don't have anyone that wants to speak. I have no cards. So do we take a motion at this time
It
then?
would be appropriate now to close the public hearing and then have the council decide if they want a motion to continue this item as well. I
I
think that's
close the
this.
public hearing, and
City manager's recommendation, I believe, is to also continue this item. You should have a motion on that.
You need a motion? So moved.
second.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Ms. Garcia to continue to June 9th. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
Now we have item B5.
And on B5, I would recommend that council members Kennedy and Cox recuse themselves because of the proximity of their residences on the golf course.
Yes, Mr. Kennedy?
And Mr. Cox.
Technical question, since we're not adopting the entire budget, how can we adopt this budget?
I would recommend that you open and close the public hearing and continue it to
But
June 9th
is there
as
a
well.
way I could?
Yes, the item, the mayor can open the public hearing, close the public hearing, and then you could entertain a motion to continue this item as well.
I hate to, we've got some issues going on over at the golf course, perhaps Keith can address, and for us to prolong that process might put that in jeopardy, and I just would hate to see this council do that to the golf course again. So, here we are once again. I think the Green Tree Golf Course budget can be adopted tonight.
Councilman McEachern, you're the one that said that the budgeting is a living, breathing document. There is some risk depending on what happens on June 9th, but I think it's pretty minimal if you wanted to go ahead and take action on this item. I don't think it would cause any harm.
So I open the public hearing.
Correct.
Just adding comment to staff. Staff is working on some transactional issues involving the golf course, but right now we're on schedule in the best case scenario to have something for this council by the 16th. So we still have a little bit of time if the council were to want to consider continuing this action.
Well, I open the public hearing, and does anyone here want to speak on this item, B5? I don't have any cards. So I close the public hearing. Do you have any comments?
No, I'll make the motion since staff's okay with it to, we're going to continue this to the workshop that we're going to have supposedly the 9th.
It's up to you.
I'll continue it.
There's a motion to continue to the 9th and a
Second.
second, I believe. And that's consistent with staff's recommendation.
So this will be continued for the same date, which is
June 9th.
June the 9th.
So we need a vote on that.
Motion by Mr. McEachern, second by Mr. Negretti. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with Mr. Cox and Mr. Kennedy absent.
Item B6. The following item number B6 scheduled for public hearing on June 2nd, 2015 will be continued to the next regularly scheduled meeting on June the 16th, 2015.
Again, I would open the public hearing and then continue that public hearing, please.
At this time, I open the public hearing, and I don't have any cards on this item. Is there anyone that wants to speak on item B6? I don't see anyone here that wants to speak.
The request would be leave it open and continue it to the 16th.
So we leave it open, and we will continue this item until June the 16th. Now we move on to C, consent calendar.
Move for approval.
Could I ask that before we approve, I'm sorry, hang on just a second. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we have an item for payment for that house, and there is a page that I request that you simply pull out, and in regard to item 5, the page that shows the map, deleted from the budget, acknowledge part of the decision.
In item C5?
Want to pull C5?
There's no such address, and the house doesn't exist. It's a part of the package. So just, if you eliminate it, the rest of it's correct. But this is incorrect.
Mrs. Mayor, regarding the item specifically that Councilmember Cox is speaking to, there is a typographical error in the address at the very top of that map page. It's 11676, and it actually should be 11673, which is the 11673 address is consistent throughout the rest of the item. Unfortunately, it's just a typo in that particular page. Everything else is correct on that.
I agree. It's a typo, but then also the star on the house is a typo also. So just if you take it out, everything else is correct in that staff write-up. That's so that somebody later says, well, you approved this. No, it's not a part of the agenda. We didn't make any, we made the decision based on the staff report, which is accurate.
So
That can be noted in the record.
Yeah, it can be noted in the record. You can make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the elimination of those 2 pages.
Yes.
Okay. So item C5 will be corrected.
And there was a motion by Mr. McEachern to approve the consent calendar.
Did we have a second?
Wasn't a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Now we have item, we move on to D, written communications. Item D1, resolution for city manager to vote on the landscape maintenance assessment. LMAD District Number 3, Brentwood rate increase. And City Clerk, will you read the recommendation?
Are there any council members that live in Brentwood? In
What?
Brentwood?
Recuse yourself.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We have one staff member, Mr. Metzler, needs to recuse himself.
I live in the district, so I'll step aside.
I move approval of the resolution.
I own property on that, so I can't vote. Is that correct?
If you have property in there, you should not vote and you should recuse yourself.
I have a conflict. I recuse myself.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. McEachern. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with Mr. Cox absent.
Item D2, denial of request for sewer variance from 16910 Molino Drive.
I have a question, Madam Mayor. The cost to connect to the sewer is really inexpensive and cheaper than constructing the septic tank, except for the fees. But I don't think there are fees. Aren't they the VVWRA fees? Or their permit? 4,457, is that, whose permit fees are those?
Actually, I'm here on behalf of the homeowner, the seller. She hired me to sell her home.
You fill out a card? So
I did.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
State your name, please.
Catherine Bergreen. She actually doesn't have a problem paying it, except it would have to come out of proceeds of the house. And I understand nobody wants to wait for things to close escrow in, you know, the climate of real estate right now up here. But at a price point of $168,000, she doesn't have disposable income of $4,500. So the buyer, I represent her as a seller. The buyer is fine with a new septic tank. We certed it, had the septic tank pumped and certed. We thought we were doing our due diligence, so we find out it doesn't. It was not. It's to code, but it won't cert. They can't give it a certification. So what we would normally do is put in a new tank. We were informed that we can't because the city hookup is evidently close enough. So we did exactly what we were instructed to do. She wrote a letter of hardship, which I'm not sure if you guys get a copy of that or if it only went to engineering, because it looks to me like that they recommended that this be denied. I'm not certain if you have any of the paperwork on that. But her hardship letter makes complete sense. It's $2,200 to $2,500 to put in a new tank in total. That's it. We've gotten 3 bids. Burn Septic is, as well as the other ones, are willing to bill through escrow, so it's not money out of her pocket. The only money she has is coming from the sale of her home. It's a job transfer. She's a federal employee with the prisons. She's moving out of state to better her position. She's the sole supporter of 3 children, and had I known that it needed to be, you know, a bigger hardship, like 20 or 30,000, which I'm finding out just this past week, engineering let me know that had it been more, it might have been more helpful. I would have honestly instructed her to cut bait, get a different buyer. But now we're past due to close escrow. We have a buyer who's willing to take a septic tank instead of hooking up to sewer. If you guys could bill through escrow, it would not be a problem. Otherwise, she doesn't have any money. So it's just, to me, it's a little discriminatory to say the hardship isn't great enough. At $168,000 price point, $4,500 for a city fee is a huge, it might as well be $45,000. So, I mean, I don't know what the criteria is for hardship on that, but to me, she certainly meets it. So I don't know if you've got a copy of her hardship letter. I have one here. We are currently in escrow, so, you know, if someone was worried about getting paid on it if they billed through escrow, it is due to close, you know, 8 days ago. with a buyer that's perfectly happy to wait. I realize the city's hookup is close, so it's not, in the grand scheme of things, a tremendous amount of money, but she doesn't have any disposable income, so.
Okay, you
Madam
have
Mayor,
30
members
seconds.
of the council, to answer the question Mayor Pro Tem asked, yes, approximately $4,400 of that is actually the BVWRA fee for the connection. City staff did recommend denial because it is a relatively small amount compared to some of the other ones that we've seen, and city staff is open to, we would be fine billing through escrow if that would cause this problem to go away. So
It would indeed. That would be fabulous.
yeah, we can work that out
'Cause,
if
what I was
the
told-
seller is amenable to that.
Okay, yeah, because what I was told is they might want to try to put it into a tax on the property, and that's not going to work because we can't tell a buyer that they're going to assume that.
No, we can work through escrow. That's fine.
Okay, what are the time constraints on that? Is it something that once it's approved, it can be done post-haste?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So then
So
this will
additionally,
be
staff
billed
would
through
recommend
escrow?
denial at this point in time, and instruction to bill any city-related fees or the BVWRA fee through the escrow.
Very well. Okay, do we have a motion? Approve?
I move we approve recommendation of staff.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. McEachran. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item D3, Safe Route to School Project, agreement with David Evans and Associates.
Yes. The recommendation would be to approve the consultant professional services provider agreement with David Evans and Associates and authorize the city attorney to approve non-substantive revisions to the agreement.
For approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McEachran, second by Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item D4, amendment number 1 to agreement with Project Partners. City Clerk, will you read the recommendation, please?
The recommendation would be for the council to approve the amendment number 1 to a consultant professional services provider agreement with Project Partners, Inc.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Ms. Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries with Mr. Cox abstaining.
D5, General Services Providers Standard Agreement for furnish, deliver, and install lineal security system upgrade project number ES 15-074. City Clerk, please read the recommendation.
The recommendation would be for the Airport Authority to approve the General Service Provider Standard Agreement between Climatech LLC and the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority in the amount of $49,090.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McEachran, second by Mr. Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Now we move on to public comments. And I do have some cards. Item E1, public comment on items of interest to the public. And the first one that I have is Doug Walls. State your name and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, Doug Qualls. Good evening, Mayor Garcia and council members. Appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. I'm actually representing my elderly mother who can't be here, and she's the owner of property at 14174 Green Tree Boulevard. And the reason why I'm here tonight is to talk to you about a concern that I have that is, I believe, is important to our local economy here in Victorville, as well as to share a really positive experience that we had of late with the Victorville Police Sheriff's Department. My mother's property is an office professional building in which 2 financial firms and the Victorville Chamber of Commerce are located. Well, over the past several years, we've had periodic issues with homeless and transients loitering around the property. There's been a marked increase of late that may have been perpetuated by the recent sweeps down in the river bottom area. Some of the related issues that we've been dealing with lately is homeless persons sleeping around the property, entering the buildings uninvited, and defecating on the property, just to name a few. A week or so ago, the gardener discovered what he thought was a toy gun discarded in the bushes on the property, only to discover that it was real when it accidentally discharged. So, needless to say, on behalf of my mother and our family, we're concerned on several levels. Number one being the safety of our tenants and their customers. Number two, the tenants' ability to conduct businesses in a safe and attractive atmosphere. And number three, the sustained viability and marketability of the commercial property itself. After contacting the Victorville's police deputies Hernandez and his partner Deputy Snyder on May 25th with our concerns, they wasted no time in going to our property and conducting a thorough survey
You
and
have
inspection.
30 seconds.
I'll try to hurry it up here. Of the property's grounds, etc. A day or two later, we were presented with a detailed report and action plan. The document outlines several constructive suggestions that may assist in discouraging the congregation of homeless around the property, and we've already begun to act on some of their suggestions. Aside from wanting to publicly commend those deputies, we'd like to encourage the council to make every effort to provide adequate funding and resources needed to deal with the recent influx of the population into and around our city. By doing so, commerce in our city can continue to rebound and grow, which, of course, is essential to our healthy community. And I thank you very much for your service and your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Smitty Smith.
Former mayor of Hesperia and resident of Apple Valley in Victorville speaking before the council. Please explain that.
And some people in Victorville are glad I didn't move over here. They were wondering what I'm going to do. Mayor Garcia, council members, city manager, and staff, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here this evening. What I bring before you this evening is our presenting sponsor is Desert Valley Medical Group for the tour of the Victor Valley bicycle ride. It's going to be a 10-mile race, 10-mile ride. I keep saying race, but it's not timed. A 25-mile ride, a 50-mile ride, and a 100-mile ride. Centurion for you bicycle folks that might be out there for that stuff. But what I'm doing is trying to incorporate the whole Victor Valley, town of Apple Valley, city of Hesperia, city of Victorville are all on board. I want to thank your city manager for being part of the committee that is doing this. October 24th, I challenge all of you to pedal up and let's go for a little ride. I've challenged all the other city councils to get involved in this. I'm working with the sheriff's department, the fire departments to create friendly competition amongst all of us. It's a healthy community activity. Be a lot of activities. BMX exhibitions that will be out there on that particular Saturday. But in the Desert Valley sponsorship, Mojave Copy, Victorville Cycles, Marriott, and Hesperia is currently sponsors. But the proceeds from these rides is going to go to our youth. What the sheriff departments do is it's called a bicycle rodeo. We'll probably do it in the springtime of next year, where we'll give out bicycles, helmets, run safety for the kids so they know what to do, when to do, what to stop, and that kind of stuff. But we're trying to involve the whole community, the healthy Communities of Hesperia, Apple Valley, and Victorville are already involved, trying to get the county to come on board with the healthy aspect of it. And I just want to present it to you. I have some flyers I'll give to the city clerk. I have some sponsorship forms for accounting, for insurance company, for retirees, for everybody to be involved in the community.
Smitty, is there a reason you left out the city of Adelanto?
They don't have, we can't get a bicycle path from here to there yet.
Oh. But you do want them on board.
Well, eventually, it's going to be the whole Victor Valley. As some are saying, the Mojave River Valley. I had to throw that in tonight, too, but I've been...
Has our city manager committed to the 100 miles? Just want to make sure that...
I don't know yet.
I was attempting to, but actually I'll probably be working the event most of that day.
Yeah.
So.
And that's going to be my excuse, too. I have to work.
I'm in charge of the SAG stops, where you stop and get your refueling for your food and your water and all that.
Is your bike for rent?
I'll let you use it if you're going to do the 100-miler, Councilmember Kennedy.
I'm gonna be there. My bicycle has
We
a
threw
boat on
that
it.
10-miler in for the families, and I talked to somebody in the last week, and they go on a Saturday ride or a Sunday ride with their family, and 7 to 15 miles is okay. I'm thinking, geez, 10 miles, I don't walk it. I'll get in the car and go. But we're going to start bicycling. We're getting more and more bicycle paths. This is kind of a spin-off of the tour of Apple Valley, but we want to incorporate the whole Victor Valley. Thank you for your time. I'll leave some sponsorship forms, some flyers maybe you can put in the Park and Rec Department buildings, City Hall. Nice to see all of you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we have Maggie Lowe.
Madam Mayor and Council, I don't have a prepared spiel, as you know I normally do. I'm a little nervous because there's more people here tonight than normally, so I just made some notes while I was sitting. First of all, first and foremost, I want you to know that I support anything, everything, and more that the Sheriff's Department, aka Victorville PD, asked to get. Dogs, whatever resources, tools that they can be given. Again, above and beyond anything that they ask. That wasn't one of the things I'd written down. I've heard some different things here tonight. Fortunately, I didn't note them, and they've already escaped my short-term memory. But I'm going to be clear about one thing. I did hear something about, a gentleman say something about continued growth in our city, to keep the city flowing. And I'm so adamantly opposed to any more construction of any type in this high desert, specifically as I'm a resident of Victorville. We can't even maintain what we've got, and you're going to keep hearing me tell you that. And this is not solely my opinion. This is also the opinions of long-standing residents like myself, homeowners like myself, who are displeased with the overall shape of things. And the best analogy that I can give you, and I've got other things to cover, is this. You know how in our personal lives, on a daily basis, I got to do this, 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 and this. And then as the priorities shift and change, as my mother always told me they will, on a daily basis, those things that were once so important to us get pushed to the bottom of the paper pile, if you will. And that is also true in what I see in the professional world. Government, whatever else it is. So I feel like we're, again, in the interest of moving forward, we've kind of closed the curtain, dropped the net, drape, whatever you will, over the smaller concerns that do affect the quality of life here in Victorville, such as, and first, let me digress. I'm happy. I heard a gentleman speak last council about he doesn't care about the road, streets, curbs. I'm thrilled that the construction's on Bear Valley because I have to drive it every day. So, nay on the construction thing. I'll probably come back with additional citizens on that topic. I found out that we can't do speed bumps. I've known that for a while to address the traffic control issue. But I do know for a fact we have speed dips.
You have 30 seconds?
Never going to happen. So there are some streets in Sunset Ridge that would really benefit from speed dips, eucalyptus being the primary one. It is an unmarked, and I found out from the PD, 55-mile-an-hour zone. A couple of months ago, they were out there scraping up some man who had to be airlifted to down the hill, lost a foot. I'd also like to see uniform speed signs in Sunset Ridge. It's pointless to put 25 miles an hour on this street and a block away 30 miles an hour, 30, 35, 40. Get some uniformity and because they're probably not going to comply anyway, but at least we'd know what's going on right there.
Your time is
in the
up. I gave you
neighborhood.
additional time.
Pardon me?
Your time is up and you had additional time.
I did. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't have any cards. Anyone else that would like to speak? If not, then we will have our city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of upcoming events. This Saturday is a targeted neighborhood cleanup and a free dump day, but don't go to the dump. This free dump day is actually in the southwest corner of the city, just off of Bear Valley Road. It's actually west of 395, so if you're in that area, we'll have facilities there to be able to take your large items or anything that you would normally have to take to the dump, but it's free. There's also going to be a neighborhood cleanup in that area at the same time with volunteers. So if anybody's looking to volunteer for a neighborhood cleanup, that targeted neighborhood cleanup is this Saturday from 9 to 2. Then also this Saturday is a run in the park at Sunset Ridge Park. You can look up on the website for times and details of that. We typically have a 3K run and a 5K run in our park. The following Saturday, June 13th, we need as many volunteers as we can get. There was a lot of public press about the closure of the riverbed, and unfortunately, the riverbed is a mess as a result of the years of homeless activity there. So we are doing a targeted cleanup of the riverbed Saturday, June 13th from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll take hundreds of volunteers if we can get them. So another great opportunity to help clean up the desert. Also on Saturday, June 13th, is a dog license and vaccination clinic at the Public Works Yard from 8 to noon. And then a book fair coming up later this month at the library from June 16th to 21st.
Thank you. Council members?
I just have a question. Cleaning up the river isn't the... do you know where the city limit boundary is from D Street or Highway 18 where the bridge is southerly? Is in Center Line East, Apple Valley, and Center Line West, Victorville?
It depends on exactly where you are there. This would be a cleanup of the entire area.
I just wondered if you'd coordinated this with the town of Apple Valley. I know they want to clean up their side desperately, and this would be a chance for them to assist. Well, they want to, don't they?
I would think they would want to. I'll call Frank tomorrow. Did I mention it that you suggested that he come out and help clean up?
Sure.
All right.
Any other council members have any reports?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do. I have two things real quick. I think what we saw tonight with this budget was similar to the situation we had when we had the employee compensation variables to consider, and there were quite a few. And so what I would ask the staff to do is lay this out a little bit better, build the cases for what's a priority and what's not a priority. I've said it multiple times, and I'm going to keep saying it. To prioritize the many needs that we have with limited resources is something that's a joint cooperation between the city staff who are executing the daily mission of this city, also with the folks up here that are charged with approving that budget. And what happened last time and happened again tonight was it was disjointed, and it was a little clunky. So like I said, I really appreciate being able to meet next week. And I think that's appropriate, especially for the size of the budget we're talking about. And give this all of these very important line items the respect and time that they deserve. So I'm looking forward to that. And I am available. So I just want to say that. I know it's difficult, but we can do a lot to address the city business. It doesn't always have to be on a Tuesday or whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing, the previous council here had an issue with lot sizes and formed a focus group. And this focus group was looking at lot sizes and whatnot. And I had not heard much about it in some time. So at the next city council meeting, I'd like to bring that up again, get an update of where we're at, and then get new city council guidance, because I just want to make sure we're not operating on a previous city council's guidance when it comes to that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Our meeting is adjourned.
We need to, Madam Mayor, we do need to go back to closed session for one item.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
We
you.
need to recess to closed session for one more item. We have a follow-up item from closed session we haven't finished yet.
So we'll just recess.
Just recess. We just need to recess to closed session.
Recess to closed session.
I forgot about that too.
I'll do that. I'm going to have to start asking in favor and opposed because I didn't hear Gloria. That's why I thought that
Quietly at the end.
I thought I had the two. So
Kind of late.
There's too much mumbling. People.
I didn't hear her.